I'm a professional triathlete, coach, and founder of an all-women's team, iracelikeagirl. I've been an athlete pretty much my whole entire life. I was a professional triathlete for 8 years or 9 years prior to being diagnosed. It really derailed my professional career. I was basically going from running marathons and training every day, training 20 to 30 hours a week, to not knowing what was going on with my body. Because as an athlete, you rely on your body, you rely on your health, and when you don't know what's going on and all of a sudden you go from hero to zero, it's tough. Yeah, I was diagnosed with Lyme roughly 2 years ago. It was a long process, like many. I started having symptoms including pain, tiredness, fatigue, anxiety, depression. My legs would burn. There was a time when I just couldn't even train anymore as a triathlete. I couldn't swim, bike, run. The biggest thing with Lyme is sometimes you don't even know you have it. You could be feeling really, really depressed or anxious or have some type of muscle pain, especially for athletes. We go through, ups and downs of training. I just thought I was getting really tired. I was getting older. Maybe I wasn't recovering as much. So when I was getting diagnosed and I was going to the specialists in Boston, I was told I had a virus and that I needed to take a year off training and competing. And then I went to another doctor and they were questioning if all this was just like a mental thing, like it was all in my head, or I was just going through a depressional phase or anxiety. And it was really frustrating because yes, I was very sad and depressed and in a lot of pain, but that's not what was going on. Being told that, you're healthy and it's just in your head is really frustrating. Call it being stubborn or what have you, but I was not going to take that answer. Having a doctor that will listen to you is huge. So I've learned that I had to be my own self-advocate, especially with Lyme. It's not well known how to treat. It's not well known in the medical field of the proper diagnosis. So being your own self-advocate has honestly saved my life. For the last 2 years, I went to my Lyme doctor. He's not only a naturopath, but he's also an MD. So he kind of combines the two. I really am a proponent of antibiotics. So we started with antibiotics. We started with 2 or 3 different types. I did develop some neuropathies from the actual antibiotics, so how to get off one. I use CBD oil every day, a little bit of vitamins and minerals. And right now I'm on a new dose of antibiotics that consists of 4 different types of antibiotics daily. And that seems to be the golden ticket. It really is a process to find out what will help you and what is kind of hindering that process of trying to treat Lyme. I don't right now have any symptoms at all, actually. I'm very grateful for that. Well, when I was going through the diagnosis of trying to figure out what was going on, my boyfriend and I were just looking at everything because I was the epitome of health on paper. All my blood tests came back clear and fine. And once I got the diagnosis, it was almost a relief. And he really helped support me in the sense that, asked me what I wanted to get out of my year. He's also my coach. And so that's when I said I wanted to get back to World Championships. And so he really just put himself all in with me that year to really support me. He was my rock. Definitely. Unfortunately, I relapsed because even if you treat for a certain extended period of time, you may not get the full bacteria out of your system. So I ended up relapsing the following year. And when I relapsed, it was very difficult on our relationship because you think you're over something and you think that, life is back to normal and everything's fine. And then you're hit with this type of illness. And Lyme itself, it really just takes over your body. Like I had a lot of issues with anxiety and depression. My boyfriend explained it as like I lost my sparkle in my eyes. Like I just became this dull kind of person. And I was so infatuated with trying to get treatment and help that you kind of block out everything else in life and you become this void almost. It's like you're your person inside, but you can't let it out because there's this huge umbrella over you that you just can't see the sun. It's hard on any relationship. It's definitely hard, and fortunately we got through that and really learned a lot and are really strong, so it's good. I don't recall being bit by a tick, but when I first moved over to Massachusetts, my boyfriend and I would go for a lot of walks in the woods. We have 2 dogs, and so a lot of the times the dogs would have ticks on them, and I just never thought, I heard of Lyme, but I never knew anything about it, and I knew they came from ticks, but it just never dawned on me that it was such a scary illness, that you could get from a tick. And so every time a tick would be on our dogs, I'd get rid of them and stuff. But I wasn't really careful when I was in the woods and I wasn't aware. Since my diagnosis, my life has been up and down on a crazy adventure, I would say. The way that my life's changed is I really, I know how Lyme affects me, and for me to be able to provide information and support others is a huge, important process in my life now. So I really try to promote that and share my story as much as possible, because there's a lot of people out there that have symptoms and they may have no idea they have Lyme. I get a few emails a week from people from Canada and the US because I've shared my story, asking me how to treat, how to get diagnosed, what test, and it's just an ongoing process that I'm really happy to be part of, because I know when you're in that position of completely not knowing what's wrong with you and you feel like your life is falling apart, to find the answer and to find a prognosis and treatment plan is everything. It gives you hope again, and that's what everyone needs. I'm always looking online for new treatments, education, research, and then obviously helping others. I mean, it's a community within itself that's really supportive. You really have to really diverge through the research and what's on the internet. And so that's part of my everyday life is, I want to know as much as possible about this disease and illness and how to treat it and help others and find new ways to continue on this health path. I've done a few talks at Lyme conferences, and it's just, there's not enough information out there about this disease. And it's an art and science almost, that you have to kind of figure out what works for you, and you are your own self-advocate at times. So to anyone that does not have Lyme and is healthy and strong, I would really pay attention for when you go outside, and if you have dogs or any type of animals. Lyme is something that can affect anyone, and in a number of different ways. If you live in basically anywhere now, you can get bitten by a tick. I would really encourage you to make sure when you go into the woods or you go camping that you take all the precautions possible in terms of making sure your skin's covered when you're hiking, and then making sure when you come back home to shower and wash your clothes and change. It's something that you don't want to have to deal with. I don't necessarily go in the woods too much anymore, unfortunately. I do ride mountain bikes and bikes in the woods, but I am very much covered. And as soon as I come back home, I literally just take all my clothes off and throw them in the wash and shower and make sure that I do that every time. I'm just much more cautious, I don't go and sit on the grass or sit where I feel I could potentially be by a tick. And I just make sure that every time we take our dogs outside that we check them as soon as they come back inside. I would really encourage anyone that has any type of odd symptoms that have just started to kind of take over their bodies, like they can't sleep, they get hot and cold flashes that are just not normal, they aren't recovering as well if they're out training. Really look at Lyme. These ups and downs, you kind of just have to ride the waves, and once you ride that wave, whether it be 24 hours, a week, or 2 weeks, you kind of come out of it a little stronger. And so over the years, I've learned that you really have to try to ride those waves and just kind of accept what's happening and focus on what you can do. That's very, very difficult, and I do have to say that sometimes going through this process, it's been mentally extremely difficult, especially as an athlete when I really want to use my body and that's my career. But once you go through those treatment protocols and you kind of get out on the other side, it's I feel like I'm getting my entire life back. I've kind of gone through this process for 2 years. I was able to race at Ironman World Championships. I placed 8th, which was phenomenal. Last year I won an Ironman and managed to secure my slot for this year's World Championships. So I'm super excited to compete at Ironman World Championships this year and also race throughout the year. I feel really, really strong and healthy right now. I started a team, iracelikeagirl, a few years back. It's a women's endurance team. It's really given me a community. Within that community and within the triathlon community, I've met a lot of people that actually have chronic Lyme and Lyme symptoms. I've had a lot of people come to me, and so part of my new website that I'm creating is really kind of like a Lyme advocacy page where people can contact me, which they have. I just really want to help share my story and share the symptoms and things that could help others.